You ever watch two rulebook moments on back-to-back Sundays and feel like the NFL is both trying to protect players and also inventing brand new ways to make fans lose their minds? This week gave us a perfect double feature. The body weight roughing the passer flag that wiped out Dallas Turner's textbook sack on Lamar Jackson, and then an across the field of controversy, Aaron Rodgers is roughest rough primetime night in a Steelers uniform. Plus Mike Tomlin basically admitting on other coaches are passing him by. Both stories point to the same truth. The league is changing, players and coaches are scrambling to adapt, and fans are left arguing about intent while real games keep sliding out of control. Let's start with the call. 10 seconds to go in the half, Ravens driving, Turner gets a sack that looks clean on the surface. No high helmet strike, no obvious late arm. Just a defender wrapping up a mobile QB and bringing him down. Instead of a long, likely missed field goal, the refs throw a flag for roughing the passer because Turner finished with his weight over Jackson. The spot moves to the 25. Tyler Loop knocks down a 30-yard chip, and the halftime scoreboard reads 10-9 instead of 10-6. Small swing? Not really. Those 5 points and the resulting momentum make coaches change plans. Broadcasters scribble new storylines, and Twitter lights up like it's on fire. Here's the awkward reality. The rulebook technically supports the call. The NFL explicitly prohibits stuffing a passer or landing on him with most of your weight. It's designed to stop violent finishes that can seriously injure quarterbacks. The intent is noble: protect a vulnerable player at his most exposed moment. The practical problem is that most of your weight is a fuzzy standard when bodies are sliding and momentum is real. In real time, defenders can't always peel off mid-fall to pose for the refs. The body follows physics. The rule asks athletes to be chess masters during a car crash. That's why voices like Michael Strahan's go viral. He said it bluntly: telling defenders to get their weight off a quarterback in the heat of a play is almost impossible. It's a fair gripe. Coaches now have to teach a new kind of finishing technique that keeps QBs safe, but doesn't neuter pass rushers into soft wrap and release actors. You can coach avoidance of certain finishes. You can't train people to defy momentum. The bigger problem isn't just this single call, it's consistency. Fans didn't merely boo this flag, they also noted the Vikings benefited from the exact same rule the week before against Detroit. When a rule helps one team one week and ruins a clean sack the next, people sense arbitrariness. That perception eats credibility. The league is stuck in a no-win cycle. Either it enforces the protective rules and draws ire for changing how the game looks, or it lets things slide and gets lambasted when quarterbacks get hurt. Meanwhile, officials are human, and interpretation-heavy rules are a referee's worst enemy. So what's the fix? For fans who want a crisp answer, clearer, measurable standards. If the NFL wants to penalize weight on top finishes, define precisely what that looks like on replay. Not most of your weight, but something measurable, like sustained torso contact beyond a specific frame count or time threshold. Give crews a replay box for those end-of-half, field-altering calls. That won't make everyone happy, but it buys consistency, which is the fragile currency of officiating credibility. Now flip the channel to Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers arrived with splashy expectations, leadership, instant credibility, a quarterback who can steady the franchise. For much of the season, he largely delivered that aura. But Sunday night in Los Angeles was a reminder of the merciless math of football. Age plus pressure plus shaky supporting cast equals nights like this. Rodgers finished poorly, under pressure, inaccurate, sacked, and visibly off his game. The stat line is ugly, sure, but the body language was worse. When a legend looks like he's fighting the game's mechanics, not just opponents, fans start asking whether the experiment has a shelf life. The defining moments were brutal. A safety when Khalil Mack sacked Rodgers in the end zone, multiple stalled drives, 2 interceptions, and protection that disappeared. This wasn't one bad series, it was an entire rhythm that never showed up. Rodgers' arm and IQ are still elite in many ways, but the combination of lesser protection and fewer explosive playmakers made his task near impossible. There's a limit to how much a quarterback can compensate for structural roster flaws, especially one pushing 42. And then Mike Tomlin's postgame. He praised Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter to the high heavens. Not a weird move on the surface, but the way it landed felt like admission. Tomlin's not just complimenting a job well done. In front of a national audience, he was basically saying they outcoached us. For a coach whose reputation rests on defensive acumen, that reads like getting lapped. Fans heard what they wanted. The coach admitting the team he built is a step behind emerging minds. You can call it humility, you can call it truth, but it's a poor look when you're fighting to keep a division crown. Put those two pieces together, and you get a league in transition. Rules are evolving to prioritize safety, and coaching is evolving as analytics and aggressive scheming find new frontiers. Teams that move fast, the Chargers with a disciplined plan, some young coordinators with fresh ideas, are reaping rewards. Teams that rest on reputations without evolving their schemes or shoring up roster holes are seeing them exposed in prime time. And veteran players, no matter how talented, have less margin for error than they used to. Here's the practical takeaway for franchises: adapt or get left behind. Protect the QB, but not by making pass rush meaningless. Invest in technique, not just protection. Coaches must coach smarter. Disguise pressures, use more quick-release concepts if your line can't buy time, and diversify playmakers so one sack or one roughing call can't flip the narrative. For front offices, the message is equally clear. Don't lean on nostalgia. If you're building around a veteran, you still need younger, explosive pieces and a line that can hold up. The ladder of success is structural, not sentimental. For fans, the best stance is useful skepticism, not surrender. Call out bad rules, demand consistency from officiating, and push for transparency when calls change the course of games. But also recognize the complexity here: safety, fairness, entertainment. The league is juggling all three and occasionally dropping the ball in public. If you want change, push for measurable standards and replay fixes that reduce subjectivity on game-altering penalties. That's less sexy than a conspiracy theory, but it's where real progress comes from. Final thought. Sunday's stories weren't just about a flag or a bad Rodgers night. They were about an NFL that keeps remolding itself mid-snap. Rules tilt toward safety. Coaches innovate. Veterans age. Young minds rise. The result is a louder, messier league that forces everyone, players, coaches, officials, and fans, to adapt faster than they did a decade ago. That's uncomfortable. It's also exciting because the next week's controversial call or upset could be the hinge that sends a season in an entirely new direction. You can hear the admission in the way Tomlin framed it. Not a detonating mea culpa, but the kind of polite concession a veteran coach makes when someone else's game plan simply made yours look ordinary. Praising Jesse Minter publicly isn't weakness, it's accuracy. The Chargers schemed the Steelers into a paper tiger, pressure that disrupted timing, coverage that removed easy reads, and situational choices that left Pittsburgh with no clean answers. Tomlin's "give credit" line was an honest post-game inventory, and that honesty is the thing that gets fans nervous. This moment exposes two related problems. First, schematic stagnation. Tomlin's Steelers have been respected for defensive identity for decades, but schematics age if they aren't refreshed. Opponents study your tendencies, and coordinators who are rising stars, like Minter, bring new wrinkles and tempo that can make old approaches look rote. Second, personnel and execution. No scheme survives without players who can execute it against modern speed and complexity. Mistakes on third down, turnovers, protection breakdowns, those are execution failures that compound any schematic shortfall. None of this means Tomlin is done or that his legacy is suddenly in question. He's won in Pittsburgh for a reason: leadership, culture, and a consistent baseline of competitiveness. But longevity in coaching demands adaptation. The best longtime coaches don't cling to their first great ideas. They integrate new voices, let coordinators innovate, and lean into analytics and personnel moves that obscure aging edges. Tomlin's comment reads less like surrender and more like a public recognition that the team needs an injection of creativity and refinement. What should the Steelers do next? Start with clarity. Is the issue play calling, personnel, practice culture, or a mix? The front office must decide whether to double down on continuity, upgrade around the edges, or pursue more dramatic change, aggressive personnel, and schematic overhaul. Practically, that looks like better third down protection schemes, quicker pass game concepts for an aging QB, and shoring up the trenches so the defense isn't on the field longer than it should be. It also means evaluating coaching staff roles and giving bright, modern minds like Minter the autonomy to innovate, or risk watching them leave and beat you again elsewhere. For Steeler Nation, the immediate takeaway is mixed. Pride that a franchise stalwart can still lead, and unease that opponents are passing him by schematically. The affable truth in Tomlin's line, "We'll be back, we'll be better," is only meaningful if it's followed by measurable changes. Fans want solutions, not platitudes. They want the franchise to show it can learn from being out-schemed rather than replay the same evening of mistakes. Final thought, coaches age, but good organizations evolve. This beatdown was a diagnostic. Tomlin admitted what the tape screamed. Now the franchise must prove it can fix what the film revealed. If they do, this will read as a turning point. If they don't, it'll be the start of a longer, harder conversation about when leadership needs fresh sparks, not just steady hands.